rolling with Ashley?
Yeah, Ashley.
Telegraph the half-truths. If cash rules, then please consider the payment past due.
Hi, I'm from a little town in Arizona called Tucson. I'm sort of obsessed with desert. It's fascinating. And there's a class going on here called Crafting the Novels, so we've been working on these novels. There's some people over here who are all taking it. So this is the first chapter, I guess you could say, of my novel. Working title, I'm thinking Dust Devils or Dust and Desertion, something like that. I don't know. So here we go. Chapter 1, Where It Begins. Desert claims 1/5 of a planet's surfaces, often tempting its victims with promises of spirituality or catharsis. Outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, vast stretches of unknown desert sleep under an unbounded royal sky. Ancient secrets lay buried beneath the dirt and rock, undisturbed by the mesquite trees and sagebrush. It is both unforgiving and welcoming. Albuquerque is a modest city of 400,000 or so, mostly working-class individuals, with handfuls of artists, radicals, and academics thrown in for good measure. Pueblo and Navajo Indians mingle with the rest, as a sorrowful reminder of the United States' blessed bloody history. The main drag of the city, Central Avenue, is the remnants of the infamous Route 66, but along this stretch it is lined with tattoo parlors, thrift stores, and Mexican restaurants. The thoroughway cuts right through this sleepy town, eventually cozying up next to the University of New Mexico, in a district known as Nob Hill. Across from the university, students and vagrants alike flock to the frontier. The frontier was always open for business. Like the home of a friendly horde, the front light would be on and the door unlocked. On this particular Sunday morning, the familiar midday chatter hummed and roared in waves. The line to the ordering window snaked around the lobby, out the front door, and then around the corner of the brick building. In the kitchen, employees adorned in colorful t-shirts proclaiming, "Yeah, this is the frontier," chirped out orders at rapid-fire speed. The frontier didn't waste time with waitresses. Customers had to fight each other off for a moment with the cashier, and then they would wait beside another window, numbered ticket in hand. The frontier was not polite or kind, but within that space, a wandering soul could find comfort and satisfaction. A young woman sat at a small two-person booth next to the large front window, which was marked by broad, sweeping letters, "The Frontier, nothing but the best in the Southwest," and a small girl walking into the sunset. The young woman was named Alexandra, a constant reminder of her Eastern European roots. She was a bit like a beauty queen beneath all that liberal hippie hemp and rosewood oil, but Alexandra never indulged in cosmetics or other elements of what she called the commercial cage of femininity. She was striking nonetheless, green eyes encased by perfect bone structure, all of which was shadowed by unkempt blonde hair. Newspaper in hand, she sipped her orange juice and casually nibbled at her fruit salad, anticipating the arrival of Tella, a longtime friend who had been studying at a prestigious university in New York City. Alexandra had recently returned home after 4 blurred years at Evergreen State in Olympia, Washington. With a degree in environmental political economy, a major she had created, and a mind of unrealistic ideals, she fled the Pacific Northwest for the only place she could ever call home, the high deserts of New Mexico. Alexandra's toes dug into the soles of her rust-colored Birkenstock sandals as she pondered the upcoming endeavor. She was reading the May-June issue of Mother Jones, which boasted a cover story titled Gone. The article proclaimed that nearly half of the Earth's species would be extinct by the end of the 21st century as a result of human activity, confirming Alexandra's belief that she was destined to build a better society. At times, she felt as though a higher power was calling her forth to the desert, away from society, away from humanity. She dreamt of saving the human race from itself. In fact, she did not really dream of these things, but her psyche was infected by them on a regular basis. The visions began to invade her body during her semester in Ecuador. She conducted research on the Achuar tribe and their constant struggle against oil companies. One afternoon, she followed her friend, Kimo, a young man she'd met through her research, into a remote area of the jungle she had yet to visit. A symphony of toucan and macaw calls accompanied by monkey howls and insect buzzing was routine for most jungle adventurers. They sat on the wet earth, Alexandra's breathing much heavier than Kimo's. Her skin was salty and slick with sweat. She had grown accustomed to damp body odor-infected t-shirts and mud-encased hiking boots. Her grown-out patch of blonde armpit hair held on to smells vehemently. She often sniffed herself, though she needed no reminder of her incessant stench. "We are close," Chemo told her. He was an indigenous man who had been schooled by a philanthropic American man. Chemo had showed the old man how to use a blowgun to kill deer and wild pigs, and so he grew fond of him, eventually changing his fate. Chemo led her past a waterfall and up the side of a small mountain, where an old woman lived in a grass-thatched home, nestled beneath a grove of chupa-chupa trees, which bore fruit year-round. She was a medicine woman of sorts, who only spoke Quechua. Her home was decorated with monkey bones and ocelot pelts, and it smelled of herbs that Alexandra couldn't quite place. She handed Alexandra a clay bowl of mashed-up herbs. "Ayahuasca," the old woman said, nudging the bowl towards Alexandra's face. She drank it and her world swirled around her. She saw her life, every moment twisted together like the vine of the ayahuasca. She saw herself in the desert. She felt herself in the White Sands Monument north of the Mexican border, her body sinking into the sand. She felt the sky plunge towards her, threatening to swallow her upwards, while the sand fought to push her towards the center of the planet. Flashes of newspaper clippings, CNN reporters, and C-SPAN clips trailed through her mind on an endless repeat. The human race is doomed. You can't change anything. The voice drilled into her head. Your life is pointless. Alexandra resisted the voices, embraced the images, and began to cry. Stop! She thought she was talking, but her calls resulted in no action. The sands were swallowing her up. She was drowning or sinking into the earth. She was leaving everyone. Goodbye, she said. She woke up in the back of a pickup truck, a wool blanket beneath her head. Chemo was smiling as his dark hair wavered in the wind. He patted her hand as they bounced along the mountain road. More than a year later, Alexandra hoped the visions would stop if she followed through with her plan. She would disappear into the desert and create her perfect world. Perhaps then the voices would stop. She had convinced a few close friends to escape with her, and now she waited for one old friend in the unfiltered atmosphere of the frontier. Tella rushed past the line of customers, adjusting her large Jackie O-inspired sunglasses. She had squeezed her long body into a pair of tight black pencil jeans and a white wife beater, all of it exuding the fine scent of rolling tobacco, whiskey, and a little Chanel No. 5. She stopped in front of the table and lowered her glasses. "Alex?" "Tella," she said, rising from the booth. "You look so New York." Tella smirked. "I know. I look like an elitist twit." No, Alexandra wrapped her arms around her and whispered in her ear. Breathtaking as always. The two young women stood for a good 20 seconds, holding each other among the crowds of people. Like estranged lovers, good friends need a few silent moments to catch up as well. Tella broke the sentimental quiet. "You smell like a head shop." Alexandra released her. "Well, you smell like a bar," she said, returning to the fruit salad. "Sit down, I got you some coffee." Tella slid into the booth. "Alex," she said, sighing. "Did you already put cream in it?" "Yep, and 2 spoonfuls of honey." "Jesus, you know me too well," she said, sipping the coffee. "That is why I hated Manhattan. No one takes the time to know someone like this." "You got in yesterday, right?" Alexandra poked at a chunk of pineapple. "Yeah, and what a disaster that was. Layovers and delays and... Sorry, I don't want to bitch." Tella reached into her bag and pulled out a bag of rolling tobacco. With delicate fingers, she began to roll a cigarette. "I'm a little hungover. Ran into a few friends last night and we hit the Strip." By the Strip, Tella was referring to a stretch of Route 66 where it was possible to drink Jack Daniels with some cowboys in one bar and tequila with some vaqueros in another, finally ending in an old dive where high school friends could reunite over $1 cans of Pabst. "Better get that out of your system now." Tella looked at Alex with the cigarette pressed between her lips. Right, the plan." She glanced around the restaurant and asked, "We can still smoke in here, right?" "Yeah, Albuquerque is a little slow on social ordinances." "Right. That's another thing I hate about the city. With all those uptight corporate fucks, you can't even smoke in a goddamn bar, much less a restaurant. That's going to kill you one day." "Ha! And give me some atrocious wrinkles." Tella lit the cigarette and exhaled a thickly aromatic puff towards her right shoulder. "So," she said, "when are we moving out into the desert?" "Thanks."